about
Uh,
now?
Yep, got it now.
All right.
So today we're going to discuss 5 reasons that outdoor college programs work.
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
That's you. Today we're going to go over a study Kurt and I did called the STACK study and the themes that we derived from that study: environmental escape, attachment, influence of involvement, belonging, and persistence. This STACK study is actually titled Short-Term Adventure Courses, the Development of Community and Student Persistence. In this study, we use sense of community theory to understand what part STACKs play in fostering a sense of community on campuses. Sense of community is made up of 4 components: fulfillment of needs, shared emotional connection, influence, and sense of membership. And of those who took the course that we did, 27 participants responded to the survey. This flow chart shows how shows the components that make up sense of community and how they align with student integration. And student integration leads to student persistence. And from our study, 5 themes developed. The first and most important was environmental escape. And the keywords that we found from this theme were escape, getaway, relax, relieve, opportunity, fun, enjoyment, and adventure. And students describe this theme as time away from the university, their daily lives, social media, as a break before finals, and as enjoyment of being in nature. And one theory used to describe the concept of environmental escape is attention restoration theory. And this theory says that nature has the ability to renew attention after exerting mental energy. For example, after spending time studying or working on projects or assignments. And this theory proposes that individuals benefit from 4 factors. The first being extent, which refers to the quality of the restorative environment that encourages a person to feel totally immersed and engaged. And an environment must be at least somewhat familiar to be restorative. The person doesn't have to have been in that specific place before, but be familiar with that type of environment. The second is being away, and to be away is to be mentally detached from one's present worries and demands and distracted from the environment that's draining their attention and energy. Literal distance provides more recovery than figure of distance. So leaving their campus and driving 200 miles away into a forest gives more of a benefit than sitting in an office and daydreaming about that forest. The next is soft fascination, which involves one's attention being held without any effort. In other words, restorative environments hold a person's attention without them having to focus or direct it in a certain way. Examples of this include hearing a stream or birds chirping, noticing trees moving in the breeze, things that are just kind of catch your attention. Don't require that laser focus that is required in school. The final is compatibility, and that's feeling enjoyment and harmony in the environment. And to be restorative, an environment must be one that the participant chooses to be in and welcomes. And the 4 factors encourage indirect attention and allow direct attention to restore. And being fully immersed in nature provides better attention restoration outcomes for students. Let's see, we should have a poll here, Kurt.
How's that?
There we go. All right, so what is the greatest distance your program travels?
Okay, it looks like we've got a couple of votes coming in here. Give you another minute or two to find the poll. Okay. All right, got some interesting responses here. See if I can share these results with you all. Can you see that, Shannon?
Wow. I would like to know who goes more than 1,000 miles.
Long haul.
That is.
Yeah, that's our program. We are at Delta State University in Mississippi, so we don't have many things around us in the Delta of Mississippi. So
Mm.
our program is based on extensive travel. We go to Moab, Utah for mountain biking. Of course, Rio Grande and the Boquillas Canyon for our canoe expeditions, usually along the long breaks. And then we perform different research opportunities. We've also sent some gender-centric ecofeminism groups to the Grand Canyon. So we do go pretty far to find outdoors wilderness.
Yeah. Cool.
Wow. That is great.
All right.
All right.
Um,
So
let me see if
on
I
to,
can get this to
oh, there you go.
go. Yeah, all right.
Stress reduction. So college students have a lot of daily stressors that can be anything from finding parking, being late to class, doing homework, not having a book that they need. Adventure-based programming is helpful in reducing stress levels for students by offering that de-stressing environment that's mentioned in attention restoration theory. And studies have looked at how university level orientation and adventure-based programming affects stress. And it's been found that these programs can have a positive effect on overall stress levels, especially during students' academic careers. And the results of the studies imply that being in the outdoors creates that physical distance, which seems to create that psychological distance from the time pressures, the deadlines, and other social demands that the students may have. Stress reduction activities include getting out into the natural environment, mindfulness, taking in the sights, sounds, and smells of the environment, exercise. In outdoor programming, it can be hiking, paddling, climbing, and connecting with people by disconnecting from their electronic devices. The second theme that we found is attachment. And the keywords for attachment were connection, like-mindedness, feeling together, and memories. Students describe this theme as connecting with other students, facilitators, and the university, and sharing the course with other like-minded people and having feelings of peacefulness and vulnerability. Attachment theory describes the nature of emotional attachment between humans. This begins as infants with our attachment to our parents, and the nature of this attachment and how well it's fostered and cared for will then influence the nature of our attachment to others later in life. There are 3 attachment styles in adults: secure attachment, anxious attachment, and avoidant attachment. And the goal of attachment is to be securely attached. That means forming secure relationships with others and trusting easily. Students may not have a choice in which attachment style they have, but others can play a role in changing that attachment style. Creating a secure village on a course, an environment which fosters positive relationships helps to build attachment. If students see secure attachments, they tend to follow that and build secure attachments. And there's a lot of research that suggests when people experience a recreation activity together, like these adventure-based courses, their levels of attachment and sense of connection are deepened. And those deepened connections lead to well-being, motivation, an opportunity to explore, learn, and relate with others. So I would like to ask you guys, how do you think you can facilitate a greater sense of attachment on courses, to other students, and to the university itself?
Can you say that question again? How can we do what again?
How can you facilitate a greater sense of attachment on courses? to other students and to the university.
Oh, the question, I'm sorry, yeah. And I had a question real quick too about the stuff, the attachment theory with some of your groupings. As far as the group sizes, have you seen research that suggests that group sizes have different outcomes for some of these theories?
Yes, groups of 5 to 7 have the best outcomes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so building, yeah, Jennifer, I like what you're saying here about group building activities and reflection building in those times. I'm also thinking how this relates to how we travel for courses. Something I've always been interested in is how do we maximize, like, you know, if you are driving from Mississippi to Moab, you've got this huge chunk of programmatic time that we typically don't structure. And so, yeah, lately I've been finding myself thinking about how can we maximize our time that we have with students by, you know, making some programmatic time in those traveling and different things like that. Like Shannon was talking about earlier, one of the things I've always enjoyed were like stopping at rest stops with students, and then you bust out the Frisbee for a game of ultimate Frisbee. And I think those types of unstructured play times can be really impactful to the course, even though we don't typically think of them as like program elements. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts along those lines, but that's kind of what came to my mind for this question.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did have a colleague that Dr. Wayne Taylor, he's been kind of all over the country. I don't know if you know WT, but he did that a lot. He would stop at rest stop, but he would also stop in town at he would search the towns that they would be going through and look for like unique, you know, historical things that may have happened in the town. So placards, billboards, it's just strange things, you know. And so that was always cool because he would always get pictures with those places and things. Some of the times the students would remember the places that were funny, you know, the placards or the historical pieces on their trip, more so than sometimes the trip. But yeah. We stop in Austin on our way to the Rio Grande, and that's always a fun because we do a choice whether you want to go downtown and visit some of the downtown food trucks or things, or go to a space, you know, a green space. And most times the students want to go to the city only because they've never really been into our city. So yeah, I do like your idea of breaking things into like little micro cosm chunks of adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have, I should have mentioned Dr. Chang is with us when we talk about stress reduction, one of the premier researchers in our field on that topic. So Yun, feel free to chime in if you have anything to add here. It's your wheelhouse.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on, Shannon, or what?
Yes, it is your turn.
Oh, my turn. Okay. All right. So I can't see the notes when I'm sharing my screen like this, so you might have to help me with the keywords. But one of the other themes that we identified in the study was the impact of involvement. So we had people tell us things like, you know, no other course on campus has offered this level of bonding. And when we think about how people connect to our universities, this can be really important because we know the research is pretty clear about the amount of social support that people have and how that directly correlates to retention and success in higher education. And so we sort of were able to connect those dots using this study to show, you know, some pretty strong reasons for causality that our programs are directly linked to, you know, retention and then also success as measured by graduation rates and things like that. So yeah, people also said that they were really interested in connecting with people from different majors. So on these courses that we used for data collection, we had about 35 students per course, and only about 5 or 6 of those were in the recreation major. And so we had this really great mix, diversity of students from all over campus, which really helped shape and change people's perspective of the school, helped broaden their sense of what was happening at the university. And then another thing we identified was this idea of influence. And this was important when we think about a positive learning environment for students, healthy lifestyle choices, and partners, developing partners for active living activities. Over and over and over, we heard again, I'm so glad that now I did this course with 30 students, and now I can put a message into the group chat and find a hiking partner for this weekend, or somebody to jump in a kayak with for this coming weekend. And so it really spoke to this influence that the lifelong influence that these courses have. And you all probably know this from running these types of programs. Some of the connections that are made are lifelong, and you know, those people become your adventure partners. I mean, I still go climbing with people that I met, you know, 20 years ago in college, and we did our first rock climbing trip together down to Red River Gorge or something like that. So it's really interesting that we are helping shape these lifelong patterns, and important to recognize that in turn for a variety of reasons. But yeah, our questions would be for you all on this is, recruiting diverse students is a really hot topic right now. And then when we think about recruiting diverse students, you know, we think about getting them into our programs, but we often stop there. And so we're encouraging you to think about the next step, which would be accommodations do you make for encouraging diversity. So one of the things we found on our courses doing this, this study happened at Long Beach State University, and it's the largest minority serving institution in the world. And something that was really important for us was to include food options that didn't center around the dominant culture. So, you know, often when you order food from Cisco or whatever, you're getting this dominant cultural food experience, but we really made an effort to kind of branch out. So I was wondering if anybody has any thoughts on those types of accommodations that you're finding success with or thinking about for helping promote diverse recruitment of students. Any thoughts there, either in the chat or feel free to unmute.
I can unmute here. I'll also start my video. Hey, so I'm new to UCR, so we haven't really delved into a lot of this where I am now, but at my previous institution, we started doing marketing that didn't show people and only showed places. So if we were advertising that a trip was coming up, we highlighted those locations as opposed to people. And I've seen that go in a bunch of different ways. And that was nice. I think the food thing, sourcing menus from students. I love that idea, and using, like, you know, those different foods. But in terms of pictures, you know, highlight the location, not necessarily the people doing the things in the location.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's a great point. Thanks. Other thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I'll jump in there too and sort of echo what Chris had said. We also use icons. So rather than we just put, if it's a canoeing or a hiking or backpacking, we will just do sort of the standard icon. And then also, like Chris had said, put the picture or a place and have the icon sort of over that. But we also make a statement right on the bottom of our recruiting and marketing efforts that say, you know, we accommodate diverse groups of students. We work pretty closely with our DEI officer here, our coordinator, and just make that a blanket explicit statement that, you know, all students are welcome. Sometimes on our marketing programs, we'll put all the different little symbols or icons that our DEI program office includes. That has helped us, especially in Mississippi, where we have a push for encouraging all of our, you know, students of color to participate in all activities that we do. And then I was going to mention too the food thing. So that has been an interesting topic lately. We used to provide food for our programs, and we used to do these menu options and items, and you could select. But we did run into students, like Chris had said, you know, with better ideas and better menus. And so we also started working with our international program, and that has been really fun because we actually go speak to them, encourage them to come. A lot of these international students from our programs at our university they usually get some type of an allotment to travel. And so we encourage them to come from their country. They'll get an allotment to experience America. And so we encourage them that there's no better way to visit and see America than through the wilderness setting. So because of most of our students who come from international programs and countries don't have wilderness quite like we do. So that's been interesting. And with that, they then sometimes bring really unique menu items and really unique opportunities for food. So that if you have an international program, which I'm a suspect that most of you do, that has been very successful for us in getting students to sign up for our courses. We partner with other universities like University of Central Arkansas, Ole Miss, University of Southern Mississippi. And we sometimes will do group trips. For this weekend, we're actually going to the Buffalo River in Arkansas, and we're partnering with UCA with their international program. And we call it an international exchange outdoors. And so they'll have some students and we'll have some students. We have our Japanese instructor too. She's coming with us on this trip, and she'll be doing some Japanese art, Japanese cultural identity, just all different things. That has been really a fantastic addition to our program.
Cool. Very cool. Thanks, Todd.
I want to go on that trip.
Yeah, right.
Chime in on one more thing.
Yeah,
we can
please.
pick you up in Little Rock on Saturday about noon.
I got to teach a thing. Another, and I don't know if this has already been talked about because I did pop in a little late, but the idea of hiring for aptitude and personality as opposed to skill sets. If we look at marginalized cultures in the outdoors, typically they're folks that did not grow up doing this like the dominant culture did, and not shying away from like, maybe we don't have to teach, or we don't have to have people already come with a background if we can invest the time and money into training them to have those skills. And that way our leaders can reflect the diverse populations that we're wanting to attract to the programs that we're leading, so that so people can see themselves in the leadership.
Yeah, great, Chris. Good point.
And then to add on to that, one other thing that we're doing is reaching out to organizations on campus to partner. So whether that's counseling services or African student programs, different organizations to bring some students who may not normally participate in our programs and work with them to develop programs where we can meet their students where they are, where we can create even custom programs for that group, depending on what they would like to see.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Jennifer. All right. Cool. Well, thanks for all your input. Those were some really great suggestions, takeout room, takeaways, etc. We had a breakout room scheduled here, but I think we can we kind of hit these topics. What do you think, Shannon?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And then I can't remember, is this me or you, Shannon?
That's you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, another thing that came out of this is people's sense of belonging. And that's really what the heart and soul of the study was. We wanted to see how people felt connected and what type of belonging that they felt to the university. And so we had people tell us things like meeting people from various backgrounds and experiencing new things together builds on community and helps you gain new friends. And what was interesting was about this, what it really was, it was about the experience. And so these courses were marketed as a physical skill building courses. And so people came to learn, backpacking, rock climbing, kayaking, etc. But, and you all know this, but 95% of the time, it never ended up being about the skill. It usually and almost always ended up being about the experience and the community building that came from that. So our data really helped us connect those dots as well. And so we wanted to provide a little bit of information about fostering a caring environment. And this is one of the cornerstones of our behavioral first responder here at Alpenglow, is building this fostering this caring environment, because we know that particularly from the therapeutic world and therapy, that the connection to each other and connection to your participants are the greatest predictor of successful change and positive experiences. And so when we think about fostering a caring environment, we're really talking about a lot of different things. And we wanted to point out specifically that there's a lot of components of safety, and we'll have an activity here about this in a second. But you know, we wanted to highlight the emotional safety, since that's kind of our thing here at Alpenglow, which we've defined as feelings and feeling safe to express in a vulnerable way, in addition to physical safety. And so trying to balance the narrative in our field of physical and emotional safety, you know, there's a whole basically conference that is about physical safety and risk management. And if you've gone to that conference recently, you'll notice that this behavioral and emotional safety piece gets very little attention. And so we wanted to highlight those different components and aspects today, and highlight things we can do for fostering safety. And so what we've done is, it will be a small miracle if this works, but we'll give it a shot. We wanted you all to help create and give us some input into aspects of safety. So just for a second, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to launch this whiteboard. And this is sort of a new tool for us. But I'd be curious if you all could, I think if you just go to a sticky note and double click it, you can add ways that you all are fostering these types of safety in your courses. So I'll give you, I don't know, maybe like 30, 45 seconds, maybe double click a sticky note and type out a way you are fostering that type of safety. Does that make sense? Questions? Shannon, are you able to make that happen again, or we're having
Yes.
a little bit? Okay, great. We were having a little bit of trouble with this earlier, so. All right, just another minute or two here. All right. Okay. So we've got a good, pretty good list going here. So, you know, physical safety, like I was saying, is the domain that's probably most familiar to us, gets most of the attention in our field. So yeah, we see things like challenge by choice, important one, competencies, and assuming that's like staff trainings for people to keep students safe. Emotional safety, we have providing gear, defining difficulty levels. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I've noticed that more and more folks putting a difficulty rating on their trip pages, which can be an important one for emotional safety, including that JEDI statement can be important. And then social safety, let's see what we got here. So creating norms and expectations, yeah, super important. Doing some trust building activities, small group settings, nice. Plans and itinerary expectations for sure. And drafting risk management plans before trips. Yeah, all those would be really important components of safety. So yeah, thanks for those important lessons. I want to bring us back to, if I can, this thing. And oh, I thought we had a facilitating safety activity in there, but yeah, so persistence would be the other piece that we found in this study. So we had students tell us things like this. This course helped me want to stay. I felt like dropping out of college, but without this course, I would not have continued my education here at this school. So, I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement. When you have a student telling you they're going to potentially drop out of college, but this course helped them build the social connections, have the successful experience. And I think the other thing too is these courses change their perception of the university. So they weren't just going to campus to take chemistry and calculus and these hugely academic classes, but I think that their perception that the university was willing to offer these types of courses kind of showed them that, hey, you know, the university is also interested in your experience while you're here on campus, is interested in helping you develop friends, is interested in helping you develop and attain healthy lifestyle choices and all those different things. So yeah, we saw that play out through this persistence theme that was also developed. And so through these things, you know, we talk about facilitating that sense of belonging, which was really important for that persistence piece. And we hit on some of these in the whiteboard activity, but wanted to reiterate that, you know, we do this in a variety of ways, and we know we can be successful when we model inclusive behavior. And that's kind of a top-down thing. That's why we're excited to see you all here in this workshop. And then another thing that we're really advocating for, and we talk about this a lot in the behavioral first responder, is teaching those pro-social skills. So we have like a conflict resolution lesson that we really advocate for teaching, particularly on like longer courses. So I also work for Outward Bound, and if I'm doing anywhere from a 7 to 21 day course, I'm going to teach a conflict resolution skill, because that's a pro-social interpersonal skill that I want my students to really develop while they're on my course. Yeah, and we hit on this earlier with some of the items, but checking your pre-course material, you know, can people either see people that look like them on your courses in some way, or yeah, maybe you go the opposite direction, pull people off of your marketing materials. So you take out that decision-making element, can be really impactful, we know. And then also we know that having a cohesive staff generates a positive culture, which permeates into the courses that we do. And so, yeah, we're encouraging you to think about if a staff feels like they belong to your program and that's their community. Like I know this was true for me as an undergraduate. The student trip leader organization was very much my community on campus. And I know that that translated to when we led courses, because I was friends with the instructors I was working with, and it just all went really well. How about can I turn it back over to you, Shannon, for this breakout room activity, or do you want to just do a large group discussion again?
Yeah, we'll do another large group discussion.
Okay.
Let's see. So we're going to address the themes of environmental escape, attachment, impact of involvement, belonging, and persistence in this conversation. And I'd like you guys to answer the question, what areas of growth can you identify and recognize for you and your staff to facilitate these themes? You can either put it in the chat or go ahead or speak.
The themes disappeared.
Sorry,
That's
that was
okay.
me. My bad.
No worries. I was gonna say, we can just throw them in the chat.
Yeah, so we're talking about, yeah, environmental escape, attachment, impact of involvement, belonging, and persistence.
I think one of the big things that my name's Katie Burns, she, her pronouns, I'm at Utah State. But one of the things that we talk about quite often here is with belonging kind of being, to nerd out a little bit, in Maslow's hierarchy, right in the middle. Like really, how can we help remove barriers for those lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy so that people truly do feel safe to feel belonging, to feel that sense of belonging? And so for us, a lot of that conversation has revolved around removing financial barriers for people to be involved. You know, because some of our students who might benefit the most from these types of trips and this sense of connection miss out because of financial barriers that we put into place. And so thinking about what are creative ways that we can help to remove those, or help to engage students in a conversation about ways around that so that they can feel that sense of involvement and belonging, and therefore persist longer at the university.
We do the same at UC Riverside. We've developed some on-campus or close to campus free events to sort of meet the students where they are, for the students who don't want a longer experience or can't commit or don't have the funds, to still provide them that opportunity to get together and to participate for free.
Thanks. Thanks, Jennifer.
We've done the same thing at Delta State. We're calling them micro, adventures. We're calling them the Free Friday Frolics, and we just go pretty local. We have the river, the sandbar. When it's down, we have a swamp that we canoe, and we have found that we have attracted a lot more students of color, a lot more students at work that are financially burdened, like Katie was talking about, that would not be able to go on our 3-day backpacking trip, but can certainly go on a 3-hour quick, easy. We provide a Gatorade and a snack, and we had that funded through our local hospital foundation as a way to seek out, physical activity local. So yeah, that was a pretty easy button for the hospital board foundation.
Cool. Thanks, Todd. All right. Cool. Great input there. I want to move us along here. Shannon, you want to tell us about the boring yet important quantitative findings?
Yes. Our quantitative findings show an increase from before this stack to after the stack. And the results were measured on a scale of 1 to 5. Most of the results went up nearly a point, indicating if there was a significant increase in the overall sense of community. Let's see. All right, and the sense of community pathway showed that the themes of escape, attachment, influence, and belonging did lead to student persistence. And I found this quote to be rather impactful. This course is phenomenal. It means that I get to connect with people that aren't part of my major, so I learn a lot more about other courses. I also get to explore with strangers that become extremely important to me. It's not a community, it's a family.
All right. So yeah, before we wrap up here, we just want to open up to questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, input. Yeah, anything. Just kind of want to open it up here.
I'd just like to say congratulations on your article and review. That's a huge milestone for sure. So
Thank you.
yeah, just briefly, and I just like to talk a lot, I guess, but just to share a real quick story. This was March of 2020, and we're in the Boquillas Canyon of the Rio Grande with 12 students, and we had no idea the pandemic had hit. And we got out of the river on a Thursday, and they were really hungry. So I said, well, we'll just drive up to this little gas stop where I knew there was ice cream, little like $3, ice cream sticks. we got there and I was the only one that had my phone on because I just had it for pictures and for other things. And so I knew they had Wi-Fi there and I was just going to just check in with, my university just to make sure things were fine. But it began to blow up, right? This was right when the pandemic hit. So I made a choice to not tell students, because I was asked to come home immediately. Where was I? When will you be home? The world's ending, kind of thing. So I made a conscious choice not to inform my students about any of this. And we stayed the night back down on the canyon, and then the next day we of course got up. But that was a really impactful moment for me this is my 15th year doing this at Delta State. You want to talk about a significant connection of these students? I mean, not only did they make a really great connection and have a significant group dynamic on the river, but once we were in that van and them getting messages from their family about where they were and when will you be home, and the concerns about whether we would be able to get gas in Austin and on the way home. I mean, we still today reconnect usually about once a month with these students. They're all, of course, graduated. Some have families, some are, are all over. But this presentation really resonated with me a lot, and I really appreciate it. But it did reinforce some of those major things that you talk about the connection and those pieces of, safety. And I mean, they did rely on themselves, but they also relied on, me and my graduate assistant to really keep them. I've never experienced that before in my life. And so it was I really do appreciate your presentation today.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be weird coming out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. I remember that day I was having students arrested for being stupid, but it's a whole other thing. I wonder if, and I did a quick Google search on Shannon and Kurt, and it sounds like y'all do research. Do you ever research the benefits to your staff? Because I know from my last institution, I ran orientation programs, and we always looked at, every year evals from the students who participated and then the volunteer leaders. And it was really incredible to see the effects that being a leader had for those students. And I think that sometimes it's helpful to talk to administration about like, hey, yeah, we do need that number of staff and we do need those training days, and look at the benefits of retention or belonging or, et cetera. So just kind of food for thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. There have been some studies done on staff, but not that many. And that's funny that you mentioned that, because right now, like today I'm working on this new project that looks at mental health and wellness in staff and also burnout. So how do we retain staff? So yeah, there's a big conversation going on right now because we lost so many experienced staff, particularly like, Outward Bound and Knowles. So we're looking at how do we retain people, and then also by extension, what effect working in the field has for those folks. So maybe we'll do another one of these when we get those data in. I'll see you back here. Yeah. Any other thoughts or comments, concerns before we wrap up?
Oh, I would like to announce really quickly that if anyone's going to be at the Association for Experiential Education Conference in November, Kurt and I will be presenting our research there at the SEER Symposium.
Yeah, good point, Shannon. That's a good reminder to bring it back. So yeah, we do have, this was Shannon's master's thesis work. So it's really, it was a really great study, really it was been pretty impactful, I think. So yeah, consider checking that out if you're at the conference this year. We're also hosting 2 behavioral first responders, one at the AOR conference in Myrtle Beach and one at the AE conference in Asheville. And then, yeah, we also travel around and do those as well. So if you're interested in that is what we do. A little bit about Alpenglow. We have some new faces to Alpenglow, so I'll throw that out there. It's exciting. But cool. Well, yeah, I'm happy to hang out and talk and ask field questions, but we don't want to take up any of your all's more precious time. We appreciate you being here and taking an hour out of your day to spend it with us and talk about the bigger picture. And if nothing else, we kind of hope that you all would be encouraged by this presentation, that you all are doing important work that directly impacts students' achievement and success. And so, yeah, if nothing else, we'll pat on the back there. So thanks again.
Thank you, guys.